know anything, if you've heard the name before, if you know anything about Robert Kiyosaki, he wrote this most amazing book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So if you look here, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it's a transformational book. Check it out. If these next 5 minutes don't just completely change your mind on this book and convince you to read it, hopefully the next 20 minutes will. So here we go.
Cringe and say, don't tell them that, Rob.
Yes. Don't tell people what you know. Keep them poor.
Don't tell people what you know. Keep them poor.
My father was the head of education, PhD, all that stuff. I go home and ask him, so why don't we learn about money in school? And he looked at me and said, because the government doesn't let us teach that subject. The government tells us what we can teach and what we can't teach. And I thought that was strange. And I said, but aren't we going to school to learn about money? He says, no, your job is to get a job. I said, but you get a job to earn money. He goes, no, you're supposed to just get a job. I went, no. Isn't the purpose of a job to earn money? He goes, you're correct. I said, so why don't I just learn about money? I can skip the job part, you know? And he got flustered and he said, if you want to learn about money, why don't you ask your best friend's father about money? I said, why? That's Mike. So why ask him? He said, because Mike's father is an entrepreneur. I said, what are you? He says, I'm an employee. I'm a government employee. I went, oh, what's the difference? He says, the difference is an entrepreneur must know about money, or they're no longer entrepreneurs. And he says, an employee doesn't have to know anything about money, because the government will take care of them, the company will take care of them. So I'm all confused. But I took my dad's advice and I trundled over to Mike's father's office and knocked on his door and I said, hey, I'm here, 9 years old. Teach me about money. He says, beat it, kid, you know. But that's when the story of Rich Dad, Poor Dad started. And finally, through persistence, my rich dad started teaching me about money on one condition. And that condition was he would never pay me. He says, the moment I pay you, you think like an employee. He says, that's the trap. Entrepreneurs work for free. And now I'm 9 years old, my head's going cracking in half. He says, you never want a paycheck. You understand that, kid? I said, okay, I got it.
Fuck a paycheck.
And he said, well, how do I make money? He says, that's what entrepreneurs figure out. It's like, so how do I learn about money? So he would just break out a Monopoly game board. So I would work for free and pick up cigarette butts and get hotels and restaurants, and I would clean and do menial tasks. And as I got older, I started getting into office work and marketing and accounting. I was an apprentice basically, but I always worked for free. And he would teach me about money. But the way he taught me about money was playing Monopoly. And I finally one day I got upset. I said, well, when are you going to teach me about money? He says, what do you think we're doing? We're playing Monopoly. He goes, no. What do you think we're doing? We're playing Monopoly. He says, what do you think we're doing? So I don't know. I'm teaching you about money.
Who's a Monopoly fan in here?
Where, you have one greenhouse.
We're my Monopoly fans.
There's many formulas for great success in money.
Yes, sir.
There's thousands of them, but one of the best ones found on came Monopoly. It still is today. 4 greenhouses, 1-bed hotel. I said, what? He says, one of the greatest ways to acquire great wealth is playing Monopoly in real life. 4 greenhouses, 1-bed hotel. Is that all there is? He goes, that's it. And he says, what do you think I'm doing? And I went, I don't know. So then he took me out, he showed me his greenhouses. And 10 years later, when I was 19, I was now in school in New York, and I come back to Hawaii, and Rich Dad had bought the biggest piece of land smack dab in the middle of Waikiki Beach. And when you go to Waikiki Beach today, you'll see the Hyatt Regency Hotel. That was his hotel.
Just like the game of Monopoly.
Just like the game of Monopoly.
Acquired assets and they became bigger assets.
He just kept what's called an assemblage, because that property wasn't that big at the time. So he had to buy out all the small guys.
Patience.
Because Waikiki was a little dirt water, little town. So he'd buy out this shop owner and buy that shop owner. And it took him a while, but he finally assembled this large piece of property. And then he and Hyatt put up this giant hotel.
You know,
It just sold for $800 million.
800 million,
That's
big
how I
ones,
learned about
baby.
money.
All right, so there's a lesson to be learned behind that. And the great thing about absorbing information is that we all interpret it differently. So you can't just trust your own research, your own mind when you're trying to achieve things. You have to rely on others. You have to rely on the experience of others. You have to um, read and borrow information. You don't got to reinvent the wheel. That's what we're trying to get across here. You don't have to reinvent the wheel in order to create generational wealth, in order to make money, in order to be a happy, successful, and accomplished individual. You don't have to, you know, just do it all. All you have to do is find someone that's done it well, that is where you want to be, and be a copycat. Ain't nothing wrong with being a copycat. You just gotta tweak it, make it your own, individualize it, make it personable. That way it's not copyrighted, but as long as it's legal and you can competition. You ever drove down a block in a city and you see 4 barbershops on the same block? You like, hey yo, how can you make money
That's
if you
Elizabeth
got
Ave right there.
yo, what? You got 4 barbershops all across the street from each other. Like, how are they making money? So the way that works is by square mile, you have to and eventually like gas stations. You see 7-Elevens and gas stations across the street from each other all the time, furniture places, and it's about beating out the other person. You feel me? Yeah, Bloomfield Ave. You know what I'm talking about, Elizabeth Ave. So beating out the other person's cheap offers until you kick them out of business, and then after you kick them out of business, you up the prices. Walmart. This is Walmart's strategy. Walmart is everywhere. Everywhere you go, you see a Walmart. Everywhere you go, they're getting bigger and bigger. The Walmarts are, yo, you need something, you go to Walmart or Amazon. I don't know where else people go. And the story about that is that I'm not a fan of Walmart. I shop at it, but I'm not a fan of Walmart because I know that they go into small towns and they drop the prices lower than everybody and they kill all the small businesses. They destroy all the small businesses. And then they up the prices and they rake in all the bread. And that's Walmart's business model, you know? And once you think about it, it makes sense because everywhere Walmart goes, small businesses die. So the point of that video was to let you know that once you start working for money and you get that paycheck, it's very hard to shift away from that state of mind and, you know, adding to your book of business and changing it up. Monopoly is a great example. You know, you get several different places, several different incomes to boost up your total revenues, right? All right, so following up next, so here's an article from equitablegrowth.org. Equitable Growth is a website that does insights and expertise on the market, on inequality, on labor, tax, macroeconomics. We're not expected to be experts in financial planning and all those things. Like if you're a real estate agent, Ronnie, so you're the go-to person for real estate for your people. You're expected to be an expert in your field, but you're also supposed to know a little bit about mortgage, a little bit about family planning, a little bit about taxes. You know, you're not a tax person, but you're supposed to know certain numbers that go into taxes once you become a homeowner. That way, when you have questions and when people have questions, they ask you, you're not like, you know? So borrowing from information like this, the distribution of wealth in the United States and implications for a net worth tax. 2 things in life are for certain. There's only 2 things in life that are for certain. death, and taxes. Those are the things that for sure, that if the government don't drive you into the ground, they're going to come knocking for their taxes. And even when they're driving you into the ground, they're coming for those taxes. Taxes you can't run away from. And you know what's crazy? The rich don't pay as much taxes as the poor. I could be making, there's families out there that are making 50K a year, and they're paying easily 15,000 in taxes. Meanwhile, big businesses that are making 500K a year are paying maybe $5,000 in taxes because everything's a write-off. That's another point of the video from Robert Kiyosaki, that the rich make money work for them. It's one of the main focuses of this book. And learning that you don't have to be a master at it, but learning how to make money work for you and how to make taxes work for you. Because a lot of people go broke and a lot of people go to jail because of taxes. I know you heard about it, tax evasion and all those things. You want to learn about it and master it before money and taxes master you. Keep them broke, keep them poor. That was the first thing that happened in that video. So going on here, wealth inequality in the United States is high and has increased sharply in recent decades. This increase, alongside a parallel increase in income inequality, has spurred increased attention to the implications of inequality for living standards. That's basically summarizing what I just said, that the living standards are just getting bigger, and poor people are getting poorer and rich people are getting richer. We saw that in 2020. Jeff Bezos' net worth went from like 80 billion to like 170 off of poor people, off of the pandemic. They're just making money off the poor people. And if we don't get it together and start making money with each other, it's just going to keep on going. That's what we're doing here, branching out, building networks, making connections. All right, so here you see in this graph. All right, so this is a figure showing the distribution of income and wealth in the United States, right? So here you have the bottom 20%. You screw it on over, 20, 40, 40, 60, 60, 80. If you notice, from 0% to 80%, it's not a big difference. Like people that are middle class that be hating on lower people, it's the same bracket. There is no middle class anymore. Middle class people have to pay more taxes, and they start making less money, and they have more bills. So they don't even get any government assistance. So if you know anybody that's in the middle class, that's disappearing. And the wealth, the top 20%. So look here, the red symbolizes wealth, right? Very little wealth in these four margins. Income, a little bit of income, but it doesn't transform into anything. Income is just used to survive. That JOB mentality. You get a paycheck, you stay just over broke for just about forever. And that's what the government wants for you. But that's not what we want. We want to spread the wealth, right? Hello. Thanks for joining us. All right, so on the top 20%, you see here that it goes from this little 10% and it skyrockets to just over 85, right? This is wealth. They know how to not only secure wealth, create a strong foundation, but multiply their income and their earnings, create human capital. I know it all sounds like gibberish and like Chinese sometimes, but you're a Google search away here and there from every other day from, offsetting your previous course and correcting your path to a more promising future for you and your family, because the goal is to create wealth for our families. That's it. Financial freedom, not to worry about money. Moving on to the second figure, the wealthiest Americans owns an increasing share of wealth. Same thing over again. The bottom is just going down. I'm like, it's the same stuff for the last 60, 70 years. So when you look at it like this, everyone knows baby boomers, from 1945 to 1969, 76 million people were born in the United States. What's interesting about that is that 10,000 people turned 65 every day in the United States of America. Did you know that, Ronnie?
Definitely not.
That's crazy. 10,000 people. Like, have you even met 10,000 people?
Nope.
10,000 people turn 65 every day. That lets you know that that's a niche. There's people that legit only focus on doing business with baby boomers. That's a big part of my niche in insurance, because as people get older, they start thinking, I haven't created this wealth for my family. I fucking went to Las Vegas too much. I went to Atlantic City too much. I had one too many beers, and I just didn't focus on creating this generational wealth for my family. So then they're like, what do I do? The least that they think they can do is not be a burden, because nobody wants to be a burden on other people. So they go out and they pay a ridiculous amount for a life insurance policy. So when we look here, it says right here, figure 3, third figure, right? Young households have little wealth. Median wealth of the U.S. households by age in 2016, it shows you right here. So this is from 0,000, 75,000, 150,000, 225, 300K, right? You rarely, I'm just going to summarize this very quickly. You rarely see a 20-year-old, a 25-year-old, a 30-year-old driving a Lamborghini, driving a Porsche. You rarely see that. Every time I see somebody in a really nice car, they're old as shit.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, they worked all their life for that right there. But our generation doesn't have the patience to grind that out, to have a Porsche at 70, because at 70 you can't really enjoy a Porsche.
I can't even drive the freaking car.
But too slow. We want the Porsche at 25. We want the $1 million house at 25. And you know what the problem is? Our parents didn't set us up for that. You feel me? We gotta grind it out as Latinos, as African American youths in this country. We have to lay the foundation. And if we don't lay this foundation and start getting it together, it's gonna be the same thing for our kids and our kids' kids. But that's not gonna happen because we here. You feel me? We live. Yo, thank you all for tuning in. Basically, look here. If you're less than 35 years old, you're probably making less than 50K a year. If you're less than 35 years old, if you don't have, you have to have your head screwed on right from birth, basically, to be making more than between 75 and 50K, 150K. The people that are making 75 to 150K, they're not even median, they're not even 44. So people aren't breaking the median, the average American household individual is not making more than $75,000 a year before the age of 44. I'm trying to be retired by 44. I don't know about you, but I don't want no parts of work. When you look here, it's from age 55 and up. When you're like this close to just hitting the sack, that's when people start making a little bit of more money. You're like, yo, how do people start making more money when they're closer to their 50s? Because they realize they don't got no more time to BS. The youth, we feel like we have so much time to BS, and then people hit 35, 40, and they're like, hey, yo, what did I do? Get with the program. Start building wealth now. Educate yourselves. Tune into these seminars and hit us up. Build your network. Network equals net worth 10 times out of 10. It's who you know, not what you know. How many times have we heard that? You feel me? So, moving on. Figure number 4. White families have substantially more wealth than Black and Hispanic families. Everyone's like, duh, Vic, what country do you live in? It's a system, right? It's a system. A system is, you remember a system? A system is save yourself time, energy, and money. Once you start saving yourself time, energy, and money by putting an effective system into plan, but a system isn't enough. That's why it's generational. It's passed on to you from your parents, from your grandparents. You need what we call a blueprint in order to thrive. Many times, if your parents didn't give you the blueprint, you got to go and you got to find it. You have to find people that are trustworthy, that are accountable and disciplined, and get the blueprint. I got the blueprint. Hit me up. I got the blueprint. The blueprint is simple, but it doesn't work unless you follow the system. And that's just the truth of it. And then you need discipline. And then a lot of money. You need to make investment. If you're wasting money and not budgeting, it's going to take longer for you to reach this because the generational wealth isn't there. So I'm not even going to get over this because it's pretty fucking obvious. Black and Latino people aren't where white people are at. So we're just going to skip that part and move to college graduates have much more wealth than those without a college degree. I believe this for the simple fact that college for me wasn't about getting a degree. It was about learning how to figure shit out. As a first generation college student, as a first generation student, like just period, because my mom didn't even make it past the 7th grade, I had to figure out how to learn, how to take what I know and transform it into actionable steps. You feel me? How to set goals, how to follow up, how to make a calendar. Hold on, I showed Ronnie how many calendars I have the other day. Yo, Ronnie, how many calendars I got, bro?
He was like, what, 4?
Yeah, 4 is like putting it like light. So this is like 1. That's my personal. I got 1 right next to my bed. My wife and I have 1 for every day that money comes into the house and every day that money leaves the house. That way we stick to budgets. We have a calendar for our dates and the dates that, you know, we're setting up some self-love, some relationship care, because realistically, our moments are finito and we have to plan for everything, which is another part of generational wealth and building. You have to know how to set a plan. And once you set the plan, you got to stick to it. And everyone's like, fuck off. Nah, you have to make sacrifices now. Because if you don't make sacrifices now, you got to make them later.
Major fact.
Figure 6, wealthy families are older and more likely to be white and have a 4-year degree. What they mean by wealthy families are older means that, all right, so their families have been around in the country and building for so long. Whereas your parents, were they born here or in the Dominican Republic?
Dominican Republic.
Right? So they considerably changed the standard of living for your family by moving from Dominican Republic to the United States, right? So what that does is it creates opportunities for you. Like, look, you are killing it right now, bro. You are honestly a role model in every way, shape, and form.
Appreciate that.
Yo, of course, man. You took what your parents gave you and you said, yo, I'm doing something with this and I'm going to make something beautiful out of it so I can pass on to my nieces, my nephews, my children, my legacy.
Yep.
Right? I see you, man. So when you look at the graph here, right? So this is blue is education, red is age, purple is race, right? So at the bottom, no high school diploma, some college degree, right? I feel like when people are like, when rappers are like, yo, I dropped out of college, I'm a millionaire, man. Fucking, what's the Facebook dude?
Mark Zuckerberg.
Mark Zuckerberg. I dropped out of Harvard and started making $1 billion a day. It's like winning the lottery, you know?
Yeah.
It's like it happens so rarely, but it's so encouraged in our culture that everyone thinks that without education, they're just gonna hit it off. I want to be a rapper. Like, no, I know way too many rappers rappers from Elizabeth.
Facts, man. Oh man.
Yo, do your thing. If you're a rapper and you're from Elizabeth, I hope you make it. I hope you do. You just can't put all your eggs in one basket. I like to have my hands in several different cookie jars, right? And basically what that means is that average, right? The average millionaire has 7 sources of income. Most businesses, 1 out of 9 businesses is gonna fail, right? So what that means is that 7 times 9, you have to start 63 businesses averagely in order to become a millionaire. You have to have your hands in 63 different cookie jars in order to find 7 good ones.
Mm.
I mean, it sounds like the odds are in your favor. You know, like 7 out of 63. Yo, sign me up. I might fucking win. You feel me? That's 1 out of 9 chances. But if you're not starting that 1 out of 9 businesses, chances are actually 0. You have to start that LLC. Go fund your LLC. Do it now. Take $500 and go do it. And then put your kids on the payroll and make them work. And then it's a tax deduction later. Pay your kids $10,000 for the year. Make a tax write-off later. And that's how the rich get money to work for them. Tax free. Those $10,000 that you pay to your kids, tax free. Not a dime gets touched. Insurance money, if you have a life insurance policy and someone passes away, that money is transferred to you tax deferred. No taxes on that. And that's what you want to do. You want to keep as much money to you. All right, so you know when they pay people and they're like gross and then net, you know, you get like $1,000 gross and then you get like $450 net because you got like 2 child support payments and then like 80% tax taken off, and then you have like $20 to eat for the week. I know a few of those. So when you look here by age, less than 1 million, more than 1 million, right? So less than 35 years old, 25% of less than 35-year-olds have a lot less than $1 million. You have to get, there's only 25% of people that have more than $1 million, and they're all older than 55. Get up out of here. Hell no. Those numbers do not sound good. Something's got to change, right? And then when you look at the race, right? All right, so it says other at the bottom, and then it has like black, non-Hispanic, Hispanic or Latino, like squished in there, like the line's so thin. And then this one's like a little bit, like it's less than $1 million, it's right there. And then it says white, non-Hispanic. And they got over 50% of the wealth on the less than $1 million, and they have over 80% on the numbers. Don't lie. People lie. Stories lie. Music lies. Numbers don't lie. This one's very interesting. These are the sources of wealth, and it varies substantially across the U.S., right? So when you look here, the blue is retirement accounts, people planning for retirement. I don't know many 20-year-olds that are planning for retirement. I'm just going to be honest with you. It's like something that seems so far away that people don't even want to worry about it, but it's something that has to be talked about now, because by the time you're over 30, you're not going to have enough time. Like, I want to retire by the time I'm 30. I don't want to start saving for retirement at 30. It just sounds ridiculous. Net other financial wealth is the purple. Home equity. That's you right there. Home equity. People that buy homes, they spend 30 years paying them off, and then they have that asset, that roof that their families can continue to live there. They can rent that house out, buy another house, and leverage. You know about leverage. Yo, can you give us a quick rundown on what leverage is? Because I feel like you know better than I do.
Yeah, I mean, just to say something short, leverage is when you use okay, so for example, let's say you buy a house for $500,000 right? You buy a house for 500,000, and within the next few years, you gain 30% of equity within that property. Once you gain 30% of equity, just rough numbers, so it can be simple, you possibly have the ability to refinance that mortgage if you want to, take that equity out. And what you're doing is you're basically borrowing your own money. And now what you can do with that money, talking about tax deducting and making sure the money is kept for yourself, you can use that equity and purchase another property. Now you're leveraging off of your asset and you're making your money work for itself versus keep investing your own money to purchase more property or more assets or more stocks or whatever it is. It doesn't matter. As long as it's an investment and there's a good ROI, a return on investment on your in your investment, then you can most likely tax defer that number where you can keep that money. And obviously you can do this multiple times with the second property, with the third property, etc. So that's just a short way where you can leverage something.
That was fantastic, Ronnie. You used basically all the stuff I've been saying for half an hour. You summed it up in 45 seconds. You took all the tools, and those are all the tools that you need to create wealth. You know, that's why everyone is so down for real estate. You know, like real estate has a real foundation on what creating generational wealth is all about, using leverage. 90% of all millionaires become so through owning real estate. What? You heard it here. Let's go.
Sir, yes, sir.
It's a great industry to get into. I feel like more people don't get into real estate because of what happened in 2009 when the stock market crashed because of the asshole banks just giving loans to everybody. So real estate is fundamental to creating generational wealth. As fundamental, I would say, as insurance. Because I feel like buying a house and not having life insurance, quote unquote, mortgage protection, is a bigger risk, a bigger liability than it is an asset. Because if you buy a house and you have your spouse, you have your children, and you're living there, and something happens to you, the breadwinner of the family, those bills, that mortgage can't be paid anymore if you don't have life insurance to pay off that house. That way your family has a strong foundation where they have somewhere to live, somewhere to thrive, and somewhere to keep growing. Right? So I just feel like it's so essential to make sure that if you're gonna invest in business, if you're gonna invest in a car, to make sure that your family isn't gonna need a GoFundMe someday. And that's just me being blunt about it.
Too many of those this year, brother.
Rest in peace. I always try to donate and help out wherever I can, but
Yep.
I just wish we could get to people sooner. I just wish we could reach out and get to people sooner and just start building that network and helping each other out, because if Hispanics, Latinos, African Americans, and other minorities started building communities within each other more, we would get so much further.
Facts.
That's what we're here for, baby. So 6 facts about economic inequality in the U.S., right? So this one's so interesting, this article. This is from Pew Research. Pew Research is basically macro and micro economic center. They do numbers, facts, and trends shaping the world. And they do this to gather information, unbiased and unpartisan information. That way, people can make the best possible decision with the most relevant information that they have in the moment. And that's how you make sound decisions, making sure that you have the most information possible, you have sound advisors, and you do it in a timely manner, right? So rising economic inequality in the United States has become a critical issue in the race for the Democratic presidential nomination and discussions about policy interventions and blah, 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 fuck politics. As these debates continue, here are some basic facts about how economic inequality has changed over time and how it compares in the US. So number one, over the past 50 years, the highest earning 20% of US households have steadily brought in a larger share of the country's total income, right? the reasons why this is the number it is just phenomenal, right? So income inequality in the US is the highest of every nation. So no matter where you at in the world, the richest people here are making more money than than the total sum of poor people. Shit is real here in the US. I don't give a fuck what nobody says. So the black-white income gap in the US has persisted over time. So when you look here in 1970, it was only 24K between black, Hispanic, and white, right? Only 24K. It has gained another 10,000 in the medium households over the next 40 years, which just means that there's still inequality in pay and in education. That video of Robert Kiyosaki explaining how the education, schools and education systems have to get the green light from government in order to teach. That's why these seminars and going and searching for education and self-development is so vital, because you're not going to learn what you need to in school or in college. You have to find other groups, other mediums, and other ways to filter out that information that you need. So number 4, overall, 61% of Americans say there is too much economic inequality in the country, right? Wait, where's the reason? The wealth gap between America's richest and poor families more than doubled from 1989 to 2016. The richest families are the only group to have gained wealth since the Great Recession. The richest families, I'm just going to read that again. The richest families are the only group to have gained wealth since the Great Recession. They got some shit in order for the last 60 years to make sure that they stay going up and everyone else stays going down. And it's because middle class and lower class people don't trust. They feel like everything's a scam. Like there's nobody to trust out there. That's why building relationships and reaching out to help each other without expecting anything in return is so just, oof. Hey, Gabby, thanks for joining in. All right, so when we move to number 6, over here, middle class incomes have grown at a slower rate than upper tier incomes over the past 5 decades. Where is it? No. Here we go. All right, so most businesses that go out of business do so because they don't plan adequately. They don't plan for somebody to take over for them. Every king wants to sit on the throne as much and as long as possible. Like Power. I don't know if you've seen Power, but I saw like 3 episodes during the first season. And I think the first thing the dad did was like sit down and be like, oh, I have decided who's going to be the next heir of the company. It's me, you fuckers. I'm staying on. It's like, what, bro? What a scumbag move. All right, so the 4 cornerstones of generational wealth, right? So the 4 cornerstones are as such. Legacy. That's it right there. That's exactly what I was talking about. Setting up your legacy. Passing on money, passing on knowledge, passing on a family mission and values. Passing on traditions and memories. So I put on a post right before this started that said, your beliefs will either help you grow exponentially or sink you down. It's all on our morals, our beliefs, and the things that fund our foundation, right? Leadership, family council, talking about things as a group, getting everyone's opinion, and creating a decision from the most information. Financial foundation is down here in the bottom because it holds up the rest of this. The family fund, savings and protection, positive money habits. Under savings and protections is insurance. And it's there because it's a foundation. It's a cap. You can't go no lower than this. it stops your house from crumbling. Because if you set up your house, your financial house on things that aren't stable, like forex, like um, all these like uh, pyramid schemes, and on things that don't have security, like day trading. Or have you seen what's going on with GameStop right now?
Yep.
Oh my God. It showed me that the stock market's a joke. It's a complete joke.
They're
So,
investigating it supposedly.
but
Yeah.
of course they're investigating. Like,
Yeah.
the richest people that were investing on that lost so much money. So they're like, "Yo, do something about this, man." It's ridiculous.
There's some
Fam-
there. My boy joined in on Zoom. There's some comments on the chat. If you want to see it
Hey,
real
there
quick.
are. Friendly reminder, brother. We are. Hey, appreciate. Oh, that's so great. Hey guys, yo, what's up? All right, so I'm gonna leave it off here. Pass on the baton. Hold up. So this is the hierarchy of wealth, right? These are the things you have control in and the things that are risky. The things that you want to control is having a savings account, having enough money where you can survive for 6 to 24 months in case of emergencies is so fundamental. 30 to 40% of your money should be put into assets like personal development, your business, and real estate. And in these two right here is where like insurance would fall into, and like real estate is right there. Developing yourself is so important to generational wealth, because the more you know, the more you can teach and the more you can do. And then company stock, private lending, oil and gas, and the riskiest would be mutual funds and foreign exchange. Too many people are just trying to make quick money, and they're losing more money than they were thinking
Yeah.
that they can afford. And there's too many crabs in the barrel many times. Too many people trying to pull each other down, um, and just misery loves company. So that's why you have to be very aware of who you surround yourself with and the research that you do about the things that you're getting into. You got to protect yourself, because if you don't, who will? But I'm going to put up all these links about things that we can actively do to help build generational wealth and plan for successions. The number one thing for planning for successions is having that stop loss, that fail safe, that you can't go no lower than this. And a big part of that is making sure you have the correct assurances, protections, and planning in order, because we have way too many uncertainties out there, like health. You can only control your health up until a certain point, and then your body's going to do what it's going to do. The environment's going to do what it's going to do. And it's just, you can't go any further than that. But having insurance, making sure that you have health care, that you can, if something happens, you could go to the doctor without a problem, because 48% of families that go bankrupt, it's because of medical bills. Passing the baton to you, Ronnie. Thanks everybody for joining in. That was amazing. I feel like it's a lot of information to take in, and I don't want anyone to get the wrong message. This is to encourage people to do. Thank you so much. Thank you, Alejandra. This was to encourage people to do your own research, to reach out and ask professionals for help. If you have friends, don't be afraid that I do free consultations. I do free consultations for everybody. I don't sit down with people and be like, I'm going to bill you $200 an hour for this consultation. But I can. I've the amount of hours I put into studying, the amount of hours I put into certifications and all of that, most lawyers and tax accountants, all those people, they're going to charge you to give you a consultation. reach out. Ronnie's here. I'm here. We're here for the people. Thanks for tuning in.
Sir.